Saturday night, the lights come alive, engines roar tonight. We drive from Laguna Seca to Oscherslebens course. Clio warriors lining up with full force. Heat races split, stand and starts ignite. 2 laps in quali, chase that pole tonight. Bonus points waiting if you keep it clean. In the Renault Clio League, we're chasing the dream. Clio League Season 2. Feel the rush, we're coming through. 12 weeks, 12 tracks, 12 fights to the end. From the club to the international bands. Broadcast live for the world to see. Clio League, this is where we wanna be. Clio League Season 2. We race, we fight, we battle through. Heat races first, then feature 1. 15 minutes pedal down, get it done. Feature 2 with the invert spin. Fight your way back, and the bonus points begin. Incident free earns you points to spare.
Hello everybody and welcome to Thruxton for round number 8 of season 2 here in the Renault Clio League. We are green and we are away here at Thruxton. Gould gets a slow start off the line at the back there. It was Edwards trying to make way through. No, it looked like it was yeah, it was Edwards trying to make his way through there at the back. Right, as we continue on through, it's a mix of cars up towards turn number 3, side by side for second. Box and Jabrat right now. Jabrat's got the inside on Box. Continues to be side by side behind as well. Anders Hagland side by side with Jürgen Nagel. That's for the front of the D2 field right now. And it looks like the D2 field, apart from Timothy Rosenfeld, remains at the back of this field. Timothy Rosenfeld, though, takes out Joshua Edwards as he came onto shot there. Perfect lines, perfect speed, contact. Nagel and Malone. Around goes Malone. Found there, looks like quite simply as well. This is a fight for overall position. A great alternate line there from Matt Wellerman. In fact, Hagland just backs out of it. Different divisions. He just knew straight away. Through the final chicane comes Milan Vukovic. Fox had a chance earlier in the race. He couldn't quite make it. But Vukovic wins. We are green here in heat race 2, and that is somebody not getting off the line at the very back. It's Sean Sims not getting off the line in the D1 field at the back. He's got a slow getaway. No, Sean Sims got he did get a slow getaway, but it was actually Luis Henriquez who got an even slower getaway there, and is all the way at the back of this field right now. The front of the field remains side by side for third. It looks like as they go side by side, that is Neil and Cod, 2 different divisions there. Downey in into the chicane. They're side by side. Swaim takes the position ahead of Downey. Downey slides, and that's surely going to be a slowdown. He does keep the position there. Bachelor once again up the inside of Swaim. That's for overall position, but not class position. So Swaim holds on to second in class ahead of Downey now. Bachelor goes defensive. Swaim on the outside. No tyre smoke. They both run smoothly. Did Bachelor cut that corner? Yes, he did. He cut the inside of the penultimate corner, the left-hander, before they cut back across. He has to give that position up to Swaim. And a slide into the chicane for him there. He only needs to get past Bachelor and he will take a podium. He pushes it even harder than last lap onto the grass. Here comes Joshua Lloyd. Lloyd's going to have the speed because he stayed on the circuit. This is side by side now. Edgar and Bachelor. Not for class position. For overall position. Through goes Bachelor. Edgar backs out of it. One. Or is Swaim going to go for the overtake to try and get the position for feature race one's grid? That's what he goes for. Swaim moves into third overall. And he comes across the line. Headlights flashing for the win. Neil holds on to win Division 2. And Cod pushes to try and take back third overall at the line. He can't do it. We are green and we are away here at Buxton for feature race 1. Are we going to remain clean? It's 4 wide. Downey is sideways. He's back front again. He pushes through and he's around. Wiley Downey, championship contender, is around on the opening lap of the race. They are side by side. There's sight contact. Bradbury wobbles. They let themselves settle in to a 3 wide move. But 4 wide. We are 4 wide up to the chicane here at Thruxton. Cod backs out of it, sensibly slow, but he is still side by side. But there's nothing doing just at the moment. And what has just happened? Matt Neal. He swerves to the right of Bradbury. And Bradbury and Neal come together. There's nowhere to really go into that corner. The lane's onto the grass, comes back on. Malone has to swing to the right. They're going to run side by side up to the chicane here. Malone's got the overlap. Can he hold that position? He certainly does. Can he keep it slowed down in time? Not gonna slow down. He certainly does. For Matt Neal to get involved and try to get into second in class. Side by side from Henriquez and Malone. It's 3 wide behind. Into the chicane. There's contact. Agnes Hagland and Matt Neal. Neal back onto the circuit in front of Riley Downey and Timothy Rosenfeld. And for a second lap in a row, we go 3 wide into the chicane. No. Gould backs out. He's side by side with McIntyre. There's contact. Gould and McIntyre around. They both tried to back out. A slide from Fox. He waited for the later break. It hasn't played out. Here comes Jabrat onto the white flag lap. If that was white flag, Jabrat would have taken third. Different racing lines. Fox has got the inside of Jabrat. It will turn to the outside of Jabrat. Turn to the inside. Who can carry more speed here? It is Jabrat who can carry more speed. He holds on to third ahead of Harry Fox. It's a fight for the podium. Vukovic will win feature race 1 as there's contact. Fox goes wide. Vukovic wins feature race 1. Hurd takes second. Jabrat takes third. We are green and away for the final time today. A great launch from all drivers there. No up in a fewer course in feature race 1, and there's already issues into the first braking point. A number of cars off the circuit as they're 4-5 cars wide in the back. They're settling themselves down already, but that's what Downey was hoping to avoid, and he has. Look at this as he comes through the far section of circuit where it's almost impossible to run more than 2 wide, and they're trying to go 3, even 4 wide. There's contact sideways, more cars sideways, and around goes Vukovic. Milan Vukovic is back on. Rosenfeld already out of the race. 5th in class. He needs to get all the way to the front of this field as around goes Cedric Gibrat at the chicane. He won Division 1, the inverted grid, and Monza. Can he do the same today? Around goes John Cook, contact, Sean Sims, and Richard Edgar. Edgar with major damage. How's this going to run up towards the chicane? Malone tucks to the inside, and Ian Lane forgets the track layout. Up towards a breaking point. How's this going to play out? As off the track is Bachelor. Can they get through the chicane without contact? They certainly can, give each other just enough room, and here comes Harry Fox from nowhere. And Fox moves into 2nd in class. There's Jared Swain. It's a gaggle, a huge gaggle of cars up towards the first braking zone. Malone stays ahead of Swain. But, I thought it was about to be contact. There's not. But different racing lines being played. Bradbury trying to keep it ahead of Swain. He can't. And there's contact. That was Edwards, who was sideways and makes it through. But look at this behind. A huge collection of cars. And we could go 4 wide. We're 4 wide. Up to the chicane. How's this one going to play out? It moves down to 3 wide. No one backing out of it. But McQuillan goes into the wall. 3, 4, 5 cars. As we continue to watch this fight, Downey is going to be hoping they continue fighting behind so he can just swoop away again. He had quite a big lead before. It has closed down, but it's side by side. Enriquez and Fox. Fox holds it on the outside. There's contact. Enriquez has to concede that position. Can Fox try and make an overtaking opportunity again? Slightly on the grass by Downey. It won't slow him down here, but Fox has got that inside line once more. We saw last lap how Downey's able to hold the speed on the outside. He does so again, but this time on the switch across, Fox has done it. Hurd is through. Riley Downey falls down to 3rd, but it's not going to be enough for him. Is Downey going to go for 3rd overall? No, he is pushing Henriquez. He's not getting involved in that fight. He has every right to, but he's not going to. Hurd and Fox, as off the track goes Henriquez. That's going to be a slowdown that he has to serve. Hurd wins the race. Fox takes 2nd. I believe Henriquez served that penalty just in time. Hello and welcome to the next round of the iRacing Renault Clio League. That's right, we are here at Nurburgring for round number 9. We have had a fantastic season of racing so far, and we have got another one in store for you today. We are expecting a lower number of drivers heading into today's race because of the Bathurst 1000. So we are We are looking at the field right now, and it looks like we may, for the second time this season, see only one heat race, which is absolutely fine. It means all drivers are going to be out on track altogether all of the time. But right now, it is looking that way, and it's looking like it is going to be great for Anthony Hilton to get back into the championship, for Peter McIntyre to try and move up the order, because right now we do not see Joel Swaim, and I know for certain we are not going to see Riley Downey here today. So Joel Swaim, is he also busy, or has he taken this week off to make it an even fight in that D2 championship? Let's start, therefore, looking at the D2 championship as it stands inside the top 10. The fight up at the top is phenomenally close. 26 points between them. 2 of 4 drop weeks have been calculated so far. The third drop week is going to be calculated after this week's race. So to be updated on all of the standings, head over to beehivebuildbroadcasting.com/Renault Clio. And the moment that it is updated there, you'll be able to see the top 10 standings in both. Richard Edgar moves ahead of Anthony Hilton into third in the championship. They are tied on points, however, but this is the first time this season Hilton has fallen out of the top 3. They're over 100 points behind the fight for the lead. However, they are tied on points, and Anders Hagland is only 6 points further down. So the fight for third in the D2 field is extremely close. Zach Gould looking comfortable in 6th right now with a bit of a gap down to Zach Tebow. Peter McIntyre, however, could look for another good race and try to move back up the order. That being said, I cannot see Peter McIntyre is here today, so he's really going to try and take advantage of that. We've got Hilton here as well. There's no Hagland, however, so the 5th position, Hagland's not here. Gould is here inside the top 10. No Tebow. Tebow's not been here for a couple of races now. Have we got Nagel? Nagel is here as well, and no Matt Neal. So about, I think actually half of the top 10 of D2 are here today, the other half not. Let's have a little look then at the D1 standings. Again, 2 drop weeks calculated. The third drop week going to be applied today after today's race. But Vukovic is at the top, dominating the league right now. But actually, looking further back, there is that fight going on for third position right now. Fox and Henriquez have swapped positions. Fox up to third, but Henriquez only 9 places down. John Cook moved up a number of places after last week's race at Thruxton, but he is only, if we count all of those points together, 16 points? I'm trying to do this quickly. That's 10, that's 3, that's 17. He is only 17 points ahead of Mark Codd in 10th. That's how close it is there. El Hilawi falling down the order. He's not been here for a lot of this season. He's not here against Day, so we can expect him to fall further down past Matt Malone, probably even past Mark Codd, because Codd is here today as well. So we could see El Hilawi falling out of the top 10, and he was the driver that was bringing Vukovic to a possible, there could have been a championship fight there between Vukovic and El Hilawi. Instead, that fight for the race wins, at least, looks like it's falling to Van der Herk to get in there with Vukovic. He's here again today. He was inside the top 10 before this week, but he's fallen back outside the top 10. I believe that's because he wasn't here at Thruxton, so he fell back outside the top 10. But with 3 drop weeks being applied, it means that he should find some of the drivers ahead of him losing positions over him and try to take advantage of that. Talking about that then, what have we got coming up for the calendar? Of course, we are here at Nurburgring. I'm not even going to try and say the full name of this layout because it is... let's go. It's the Nurburgring Strecke Kurzanbindung without arena layout that we are racing today. It is an extremely long name but not an extremely long circuit. It is essentially the short layout here at Nurburgring. It's the shortest layout I believe you can run around this layout, apart from the bottom of the track where you just run the hairpin down at the bottom of the track. I think that's the shortest layout you can run here at Nurburgring, but this is one of the shorter ones. We're obviously out at Knock Hill then in 2 weeks' time. We'll head there again the week after before heading to Oschersleben for the final round. I can't believe we are already 3/4 of the way through this league, if I'm doing my maths correctly. Yes, I am. This will be the 3/4 way part in this league. That's absolutely mental. No race then next week. That's a real shame. But we will be back on October 11th at Knock Hill. One of my favourite British racing circuits is Knock Hill. So I'm really pleased to be getting out over there virtually, of course, and it's one of the tracks that I'm going to buy for this league that I'm actually going to go and drive myself, because I genuinely do love that track. So that's awesome to see, and it's great to see that we're doing it back to back. 2 different layouts, of course, one running forward, one running backwards. That being said, Oschersleben is a fantastic track to do as the final round as well. Now, the Oschersleben circuit was used as the final round in the mini-series, and I have to bring this up every time I talk about Oschersleben. I managed to win a race here in the Renault Clio League at Oschersleben in the wet. Of course, it was the reverse grid feature too, but I'm still very happy that I managed to win that race in the end. It was a great race indeed, and it always creates some fantastic racing, so I can't wait for that race as well. Talking about here at Nürburgring then, we are running, as you can see, that shorter layout without the arena layout as well. Means we cut off where they do for the VLN series. Actually, we are running essentially what they run in the not the VLN, the NIS. The NIS is what they run in the NIS. No, not the NIS. What am I trying to say? Oh, you know what I'm trying to say. It's what they run at the Nürburgring during the normal 4-hour races without the Nordschleife attached. That's the layout that we're running today. The format then, 25 minutes here in practice, which is about to come to a close. Is it? No, it looks like we... No, we've got 5 more minutes. Yeah, that's my maths doing wrong things again. We got 5 more minutes here in practice. We then got 2 laps of qualifying, just like you would in an official race. We then got the 2 heat races. We got 18 drivers here today. I'm not 100% certain whether we will split or race all together with that then. We'll then see the feature race, 15 minutes. That'll be sorted by the race results from the heats. And feature race 2 will be 20 minutes and an inverted grid of a minimum of 15 cars. Now, looking at it, the way it's gone so far this season, if we've only got 18 drivers racing today, I'm almost certain that all 18 will be reversed and we will see another full grid reverse, which is always fun to have. I love it when we get a full reverse grid because, well, it creates more craziness, doesn't it? That being said, is Milan Vukovic here out the fastest in this session right now, as expected really. He is running currently a 125.9 is his fastest, and we've got a 126.0 just behind. So let's have a little look at what the standings look like at the moment as we see Mark Codd jump up to 3rd position there. We saw some great racing last time out at Thruxton. Amazing move by John Cook heading up towards the hairpin. And actually, do you know what? Live on the stream, I mentioned it went 4 wide, and I just didn't click that Cook went from the back of that 4-car train to the front of it. And it was an amazing move. And watching it back on the highlights, when I was editing the highlights, it was astonishing to witness actually. So excellent job from him, and he finds himself in the top 4 here, only just ahead of Jürgen Nagel, who is the fastest D2 driver. Now, remembering back to the D2 Championship, Nagel actually not doing too bad in that championship. Consistency being king in the D2 Championship for sure, just being there turning up to the races, because we've got only 7 D2 drivers today. We've got over 20 drivers taking part in both divisions. And when we've only got 11 D1 and 7 D2 drivers competing today, it proves how important turning up can matter. Now, like I said, the D2 Championship, fortunately for both leaders, Joel Swaim and Riley Downey, both of them are not competing here today. And actually, that is incredibly fair for both of them. I know there was concern throughout some drivers that the championships would become unfair because of drivers having to miss today's race for the Bathurst 1000. And actually, the way that it's evened itself up there at the top of the field in the D2 Championship is brilliant to see. It's quite nice, actually, to see that championship is going to go down to the final 3 rounds with no unnecessary advantage going to one way or the other. Van der Herk has found an even faster lap time than Vukovic. Like I said, Van der Herk is the driver this end of the season who is stepping up to the mark, challenging Vukovic right now, and he's certainly doing that. He has gone less than 0.02 of a second quicker than Vukovic around the Nurburgring circuit right now. Both of them over a half a second clear of the next fastest driver, of Mark Codd. So if we are going to see them in 2 separate heat races, I think we're going to see 2 very dominant drivers in each of those heat races. If we're going to see just the one heat race, we are going to see a very tight heat race battle for the lead, I'm sure. And Van der Herk is going to want to try and get as many points as he can, get himself inside the top 10. Bear in mind, he wasn't here at the start of the season. He hasn't competed in every race since he joined. Just getting up there and stepping in and showing what he can do, and maybe stepping in for season 3 more and being able to take part of more races, we'll see him possibly being a championship contender against Vukovic. Let's see how it goes at the moment, see if any more times are gained. You can see there in distance we're doing that first chicane, not the second chicane. So the first chicane being the one that they normally run in the Formula 1, when Formula 1 used to visit here. What a great track this is. Formula 1 should come back. Like, I like Hockenheimring as well. Do you know what? Formula 1 needs to return to Germany. Why do we have 3 American races? Let's get 2 German races in there. Hockenheim and Nürburgring. What great tracks they are. And what great racing we're going to see in them, in these little cars that you can take to the supermarket and go for your weekly shopping. Of course, we've got some Sainsbury's liveries out there. We've got a mix. We've got a mixed mash of about 100 different liveries, of course, on Ian Lane's machine. So let's see how they go in qualifying then, and we'll actually get an onboard lap around this layout here and see how we get going, as this qualifying session is just about to begin. It looks like I might actually have incidents being displayed, possibly. Interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on that, because that could be something that is good for me to be able to see, with bonus points being given out, of course, with incidents, with minimum incidents in this series. Right, we are looking at Philip van der Herk. He exits pit lane for the first time in qualifying. Hopefully he is thinking the only time in qualifying. Of course, just like official races here on iRacing, they get 2 qualifying laps to put in a best lap that they possibly can. Try to get it as far up the qualifying order as they possibly can. There's the cutoff. We do the short layout. The camera didn't quite know what to do, it turns out, through that cut through. It's like, where are you going? That's not the layout. But of course it is that we are running here today, as we then full throttle all the way up to the chicane. Not on this opening lap though. Van der Herk's weaving side to side, trying to warm his tyres up, giving himself the best advantage. A bit of dirt being kicked up there, so running a little bit off the circuit. Looking very cloudy out there today. In fact, it is quite foggy right now. 20% fog down there. Looking at the expectations for rain, if I'm not mistaken, there's no real chance of rain today. Is just going to be a bit cloudy rather than there being any wet conditions. Of course, we have quite a lot wet conditions lately, but let's ride on board. We haven't got the custom cameras here today with that PC reset that I was talking about in the stream earlier. So we're going to head up towards turn number 1. We're not going through the arena, so you're going to switch back straight to the left. We're going to slam onto the brakes, get it turned in, close that cone on the inside, push it wide because you're going to be turning across the left, getting very close to the tyre wall on the left hand side, let it run out, nice smooth on the steering, get yourself back to the left hand side of the track, slam on the brakes once more as you cut through. A bit of a slide there from Van der Herk, that's going to have cost him time on this first lap, as we now head again to the right hand side of the circuit because you're going to be turning to the left. Off the throttle, didn't sound like any brakes were being used there. Through the right again, off the throttle, shifting down but no brakes, using engine braking to get the car turned through that one. Full throttle now as we head up towards the chicane on this opening qualifying lap for Van der Herk. He's going to slam on the brakes heavily because he's got to get through this chicane, the tighter of the two chicanes. Gets a big two-wheel moment through the left. Through the right, gets the curbing perfectly. Settled it down on the outside of the turn. Gonna cut across into the final turn. Hitting the apex late. Pushing the car out wide. Let's see what this lap time does. Richard Edgar goes faster than Malone on that opening lap. Where does Van der Herk go? We saw him slide, but even with that slide, it's still a faster lap time than Milan Vukovic. So even with the slide through the cut through, Van der Herk found a very quick lap indeed. Let's see what Vukovic can do this time around. Again, trying to keep it loose on the steering, not trying to turn too hard, which will slow you down a bit. Onto the brakes. This is going to be nice and smooth, smoother than Van der Herk. The cameras really don't know what to do in that cut through. Right, gets to the right hand side. Again, going to cut across to the left, runs it over the green surface, that turf on the inside. Absolutely fine, you can do that. Pushes through, full throttle as we head up towards the chicane. This part here, I say, feels longer than the main straight. You know you've got a heavy braking zone coming anyway, and arguably more challenging than the first hairpin, especially if you're racing somebody side by side there. Trying to keep it on track, certainly did. A lot of two-wheel moments, though. Vukovic is finding, it looks like a bit of time on this lap. Quite a bit of time on this lap, actually, as Poplet goes through. Is this almost a second up from Vukovic? As Vukovic crosses the line, what time is that going to be? It is about a second up. I can see the some pace information this week. I have no idea how I can see it. As Van der Herk not so happy with his laps and has decided to crash the car into a wall at the end of his second qualifying lap. Van der Herk third though. Poplet up there in second. That is a fantastic job. Poplet's not even inside the top 10 in the championship. He's found himself there in second. John Cook goes up to third past Van der Herk. Van der Herk knows he could have gone substantially better than he has here, and he has placed himself into the middle of the field as well. As Mark Codd shows you how to get the fastest lap through the chicane. He couldn't quite make it work through the final turn, however. Obviously not a valid lap, even if he had finished that one. This is Zach Gould, 14th overall at the moment. 2 seconds off of Vukovic. Gets it slowed down for the chicane. Sure, it's going to be great seeing 18 Clios two-wheeling through the chicane. Up to the final turn then. Less than a minute left on qualifying, but I believe that most drivers here happen in lap times. I do see Matt Neal. He has joined the session at the end of the practice after I'd gone through the list. Matt Neal is here and racing today. So we've got Matt Neal, Sean Sims and Anthony Hilton. 3 drivers who are here without lap times on the board. Right, I'm going to wait until we get heat race number 1 before we show the grid, because I've discovered if you do that, you can actually see the grids for each of the races rather than the combined grid where you have to try and work it out. But it's also going to be finding out whether or not we are doing 2 heat races. With 18, that would be 9 in each heat. Whether we are going for 1 heat race here today. What I do know also is I'm going to very, very, very quickly fix something that I know is going to be an issue if I do not fix it. Because iRacing is amazing, I am just going to quickly come along to my spotter and turn him off. We are going for 2 heat races today. 10 drivers in heat race 1. Let's have a look at the grid. It is Vukovic ahead of Cook. Rocks in 3rd, followed by Batchelor. It's Ian Lane in 5th and Mark Codd in 6th, followed by McIntyre, Matt Malone, Sean Sims and Anthony Hilton. Peter McIntyre and Anthony Hilton, the only 2 D2 drivers in this one, which also means that even if they finish last, they will finish 2nd in class. That is how astonishingly... there we go, we got some nice camera. That's how astonishing it is to be in heat race number 1. Heat race number 2, I think you're going to get 7. Sorry, 5. I think you're going to get 5 Division 2 drivers. So definitely a benefit here being the odd number qualifier and getting in to heat race number 1 here at the Nurburgring. We are preparing ourselves ready for the start of heat race 1 around the Nurburgring, located in Germany. 10 drivers line up for the first race of the day. As we get ourselves ready, the lights are out and we are away here at Nurburgring. Only 8 cars, it seems, have continued. It looks like we may have had a couple of disconnects on the line there up towards turn number 1. They settle themselves down at the front, but in the mid-pack, they're running side by side, trying to sort themselves out. It looks like Ian Lane, side by side with Mark Codd, up towards the right-hand turn. Matt Malone dives up the inside of Ian Lane. Codd up the inside of Rocks as well. Codd makes that move stick, but can he do it as the corner switches back across? He does. Lane and Malone, side by side. Malone pushes it out wide. Will try and keep the inside on Ian Lane. He does so. Rocks just up ahead, keeping Malone from getting fully on the throttle. But can Malone confirm it? Yes, he does. And they settle themselves in single file here. It looks like a move, a tempting move up ahead from Neil Rocks on Mark Codd. Can't do anything with that at the moment. Onto that chicane is a hard place to overtake unless you are side by side. That's for sure. Talking about side by side. Matt Malone once again side by side with Ian Lane. Tried to look up the inside of Neil Rocks. Couldn't do it. And Lane now on the outside as we come up towards the first turn of the lap. This is still side by side. Who's going to brake later? It looks like they brake in time. Ian Lane's on the outside, but it is going to switch across to the inside. But he gets the curbing, and Malone can get his throttle down. They are still side by side here. As we get onto the brakes, it looks like Malone's got it ahead once again. Is it going to stay that way, or is it going to swap over again? It is. Malone wide and slow. Lane through. Peter McIntyre is the only D2 driver left in this race. Like I said, it looked like we had a couple disconnects at the very start of this one, and Peter McIntyre is going to win the D2 field in Heat Race 1. No matter what happens, he just needs to cross the line and he will win. Talking about winning, Vukovic a second ahead of Cook right now. Cook ahead of Bachelor by half a second. It's a small field of drivers here in Heat 1. They have got to keep it on the track and they will come home to get some decent positions. And for some of them, it won't be their worst, that's for sure. Thinking about it though, after today we are going to get yet another drop week applied. Vukovic, fastest on the previous lap, placing in a 1:26.028. If you want to keep up to date with all of the times, the live timing, the fastest laps, all that information, head across to beehivebillbroadcasting.com/Renault Clio, and over on that page you have a link to the live timing for this league. That is up every single time the broadcast is up on a Saturday, so you can keep up to date with practice, qualifying and all 4 races of the day. Up towards the chicane once more, as we watch Thomas Bachelor right now in 3rd position. Bachelor had a decent go at fighting at Thruxton. Ended up in a wall on one of the races though, through the chicane. Hopefully he won't end up a wall in the chicane here, but he does have Mark Codd all over his rear now. This could be an opportunity for Codd up towards turn number 1. Bachelor goes defensive. No, he doesn't. He backs out of it and lets Codd through. Bachelor deciding not to fight Codd. Now, why is that? There could be some communication over the radio there, but there's contact between Bachelor and Rocks. Is there some sort of issue for Bachelor? Because he went slow across that. I thought there may have been some sort of communication with himself and Codd to let Codd through, but now I'm not too sure, and it looks like the drivers behind are getting backed up. What just happened there? Not too sure, but Bachelor at the lead of this train now. It's got Rocks, Lane and Malone. It goes down to 7th overall. 7th in class is the fight for 4th. Onto the gravel goes Bachelor. Here comes Rocks to the right, and Lane is pushing Rocks. What's Malone going to do? He's going to touch to the right as well, because that is Thomas Bachelor backing out again on the left. Does he have damage? Is there something going on with his car? It certainly seems like it, because this lap alone, he has conceded 4 positions. And I would not say that he has lost them. He has conceded them. He has dived down pit lane. There is no black flag. There is no meatball flag. But surely there is some issue for Bachelor, who does visit the pit lane. And I'm looking at it now. He now has been black flagged now that he's down pit lane. We've saw this before at Monza. No black flag until the driver went down pit lane. Is it a possible speeding penalty? I don't know. It could be. But a black flag after he's come down pit lane. But he is stationary in his pit box. We'll see how long he is there for. We'll see if he comes back out. 3.5 minutes left on the clock. This is the battle we are watching. It is the battle on track right now. It is Neil Rocks leading Ian Lane and Matt Malone. Malone is going to want to try and get past Lane up to 5th position. They're the 2 closest drivers on track right now. 2 different lines. Malone keeping it tighter. Lane swinging it in. Trying to keep the speed with minimal steering input. Onto the brakes though. Malone closes right to the rear end, but Lane carries just a bit more speed in the mid part of the circuit. Malone carries the speed on the exit. He looks up the inside into the final turn. Matt Malone up the inside of Ian Lane, but that outside line just carrying the speed through the turn, and Lane once again stays ahead of Matt Malone for 5th position here. 2.5 minutes left on the clock. That being said, there's a move for second position. Cod and Cook here as Mark Cod makes his move past John Cook for second. Let's see if we can figure out what has happened here in this move, because there's quite a bit of gap between them. Cook has gone deep into the chicane, and Cod makes his way through, and he takes second position right now. But that is an alternate line there from Cook to see if he can get onto the rear end of Cod. Try to make this move. It looks like he's trying to get the overlap before the kink, and it looks like he does. So Cook is going to get the inside through Cod, through past Cod, up towards the chicane now. Onto the brakes. Cook on the outside, Cod on the inside. Cod gets it. Cook's going to have to back out for now, but he's definitely feeling the speed. He knows he's got it, but this fight is allowing those behind to catch up. Now, the gap between second to sixth, each of their individual intervals are no more than a second. As the white flag comes out, Vukovic enters the final lap of the race here. Are there going to be any more position changes behind? In fact, going on to the final lap, Vukovic has gone another purple with a 25.939. In fact, let's get this fastest lap showing whenever it happens at the top, because otherwise I'm not going to fully keep an eye on that. So hopefully you'll be able to see that as well, and also it will appear in front of my eyes and I can't miss it that way. This is the battle right now, and Malone and Lane side by side as they entered into the cut through, but they're going to have to back out at the moment. Those cameras are there. iRacing, fix your game. Right, as we come through up towards the back end of the circuit, it's Matt Malone chasing down Ian Lane, and it's gravel in the air from Lane. Malone moves to the inside. He's going to have the inside line up to the kink. Who is going to come out on top? Onto the braking. It looks like Malone's got it, but Lane's sticking to the left. He's going to try and stick it up the inside. It's side by side into the chicane. Matt Malone and Ian Lane to the final turn. Lane can keep the speed on the outside, but he's a lot wider than he has been before. As we come up to the line, there's contact between the two. Matt Malone comes out on top ahead of Ian Lane. But it was Vukovic who won that one for heat race number 1. Let's have a look at the results for the quiz. Oh my God. Absolute death at turn 1. Absolute death as Bachelor is coming to finish this one. Let's have a look at the results here. And it was Vukovic who won that one, 6 seconds clear of Mark Cod. John Cook came home in third ahead of Neil Rocks. Just across the line, Matt Malone pipped Ian Lane to 5th place in that one. Peter McIntyre, the one and only D2 driver to compete in this one after a couple of disconnects at the start of the race, put him 7th overall and the winner of his class. And Thomas Bachelor finished at the back after having to pit in that one. In fact, I believe that he is still out on track and he has only just taken the checkered flag. That also means that heat race 2 is now going to be upon us, and we will get the grid for heat race number 2. Here we go. It's Bob Poplar who is going to be starting this one out on pole position. It's then going to be Philip Vanderherk who will start alongside him in second. Jürgen Nagel will start in third ahead of McBuller. We then see Edgar and Lloyd. This is the D2 field, because just have a look. We've got Gould, Ayala and Neil behind as well. In this one, if you are a D1 driver, you are guaranteed a podium. Only 3 Division 1 drivers in this one. We are preparing ourselves though for heat race number 2. The lights are up and they're down, and we are away as Poplar gets a really slow launch, moves straight to the left hand side of the circuit and falls down the order before the race has even got going, Poplar falls to the rear of the field, almost the rear of the field. It is Van der Herk who is out at the front of the field right now, and that's ahead of Nagel. This in third in the Formulama machine is Clayton McBuller. He is second in his division, third overall. Nagel is taken second overall at the moment. A good start for him, but a terrible start from poleman Bob Poplar. It was very nice to see him at the front of the field, but it wasn't going to stay that way. McBuller gets the inside of Nagel and will get second overall, and will now be able to try and fight Van der Herk for the win here. Of course, Van der Herk was much faster than the rest of the field, apart from Vukovic in practice, but in qualifying he wasn't able to find that time. You can already see the gap he's got. Actually, it's already over a second, so this looks like it is going to be a win from Van der Herk. But that being said, in this race it is certainly the D2 field we're going to be watching, and we're going to be watching this fight for the podium in the D2 field. It is led by this man here, Richard Edgar, but you do have Matt Neal just behind. Neal looks to the inside, catches the curbing, and Edgar, slow, off the circuit. Was that a slowdown for Edgar? It certainly looks like it was. He's been black flagged. That is why Edgar has gone slow. Edgar has been black flagged for what? Surely not the instant limit already. Fight ahead, Poplar trying to get back through the field now. Gets past Matt Neal, makes that move. He goes into 5th overall. Matt Neal down to 6th overall. But Neal wanting to get back involved. Follows Poplar, swings to the right hand side to get that slipstream. Is he going to go for the move into the chicane? Poplar sticks middle, moves to the right. Neal backs out of it. Certainly didn't want to make that move into the tight chicane. That's a last lap sort of attempt like we saw with Lane and Malone. Down pit lane goes Richard Edgar. I really want to know why he got a black flag, because that is extremely interesting, because it certainly wasn't a meatball flag. It was a black flag, and it came out of absolutely nowhere. Has he possibly ignored a slowdown, hasn't completed it in time, and has therefore received the black flag? That's my only thought now, is that he has received the slowdown. He tried to jump out of it at the last moment that we saw last lap, and it was just too little too late. Now that's what I'm thinking has happened. Edgar has been down pit lane. He will be back out momentarily, I am sure. Well, if he decides to, he might not want to be back out after receiving a penalty in this heat race. Right, we're almost halfway through heat race number 2. 9 drivers in this one. We will see the entire field gather back together again for the feature race 1 after this one concludes. But right now, Bob Poplar looking to make another move back up the order, this time past Joshua Lloyd into the chicane. Poplar sticks it to the inside. A nice move complete, and the 727 moves up to 4th overall. In fact, if somehow he is able to close down 4 seconds here, he could be in the fight with McBuller for second. Now, he's got a guaranteed podium though, but bearing in mind he started this one on pole position, he surely will be wanting a win. That's at least a second. A 3rd place, last place in class in the race after starting on pole will not be something he wants, as Matt Neal dives to the inside of Joshua Lloyd. Contact between the two of them, and it is going to be Neal stuck behind, but a dive there, as this was a mistake from Zach Gould through the final turn, and he pulls over to the side. What is he doing? What on earth is Zach Gould This is an interesting one. I think we can all say, huh? I cannot explain what we've just seen there. As a commentator, I don't know what we've just seen there. So we're going to go back live and pretend that never happened. What was that? Right, this is Matt Neal. He's now behind Joshua Lloyd. A bit of a late on the brakes, a bit of a slide and a lock-up. And Matt Neal loses about a second now to Lloyd. We'll have to try and close that back up again as we go through the final turn up towards the timing line. And it is Philip van der Herk with a fastest lap, the Belgian out front. And that was a 1:25.960, which is very similar to the fastest lap, obviously, earlier on. And actually, I'm going to go have a look. What was the fast lap by Vukovic? It was a 25.939. 300ths of a... Actually, to be fair, 2100ths of a second between their two lap times. So that's showing that actually, in the feature race, the two of them starting side by side, it could be extremely close for the fight out front. Neal behind Lloyd. This is the battle for second in class in the Division 2 field. So Nagel is about 3/10 behind McBuller. Definitely could have an opportunity for second overall here. But right now he is going to win the class. He makes that move past McBuller. He's still going to win the class. This fight, however, is going to be for points. Now, I am keeping an eye on that gap between Nagel and McBuller, because if it does get any closer than 0.2 of a second, we are going to pop on our way up the field and see what is going on there. But right now, Neal is trying to close back that gap he lost to Lloyd. Of course, he was on the rear end of Lloyd, as that is an astonishing fast lap, 0.2 quicker than Vukovic did in Heat Race 1. That is a 25.74. Zach Gould did get a meatball flag when he crashed into that wall earlier. He has cleared it. He is down pit lane, but I think it looks like we're not actually, I'm looking at it here, it looks like we're not going to see him return to track here in the heat, but we will see him in the feature. Richard Edgar did come back out on track, is still racing here, is still on the lead lap of the race, in fact, as Neal has closed back down to 0.6 of a second. And he's probably going to be hoping that this time, if he does close up to Lloyd into the chicane, he gets through it cleanly, doesn't throw away that time again. Less than 2 minutes on the clock here, with a lap time being 1:25. Are we coming up to the white flag lap? It will be 7 laps next time around, which was how long Heat Race 1 was. Yeah, we're definitely going to see the white flag next time round, which means Neal, half a second behind. He goes deep again. He loses about 1/10. 2/10, 3/10 even. 4/10. He loses a lot of time in that chicane. So that chicane has thrown Neal off multiple times in his hunt for second to get past Joshua Lloyd. I think it's going to remain the way it is now. I think the cars are just too far apart going on to this last lap of the race. And I think we've got our results from heat race number 2 confirmed as we go on to the white flag lap. Philip van der Herk is so clearly in the lead in a 10-minute race, a 7-lap race. Van der Herk has pulled a 7-second gap out front, which is absolutely astonishing. And I can't wait to see the fight between Van der Herk and between Vukovic going into feature race 1. They will start side by side, with Vukovic winning heat race 1. He's going to start on pole in feature 1. Van der Herk here is going to start in second alongside him. Philip van der Herk come through the final corner of the circuit, and he will win heat race number 2 here at the Nurburgring for round number 9 of the Renault Clio League. The checkered flag is out, And it's just not going to be enough for Matt Neal, but he will still take third in class. As Ayala and Edgar come to finish as well. Zach Gould out of this race a few laps from the end. Let's get a look at the race results from heat race number 2. Philip van der Herk, our winner, came home ahead of Clayton McBuller. It was Jürgen Nagel who won Division 2. He finished in 3rd overall. And Bob Poplar, the last of the D1 drivers in this division, took home 3rd in class and 4th overall. Joshua Lloyd and Matt Neal rounded out the D2 podium ahead of Edward Ayala and Richard Edgar. Zach Gould out of the race at the end of that one after that very confusing incident occurred through the final corner. We are preparing ourselves for the start of feature race 1. All drivers will be down and out on track for this one, as it looks like we are switching across now. 15 minutes, of course, for feature race 1, so 5 additional minutes. That'll equate to about 4 additional laps here. So we're looking at about an 11 lap race. 19 drivers in this one. Hopefully no disconnects that we saw in the heat race 1. Right, we got Vukovic out on pole ahead of Van der Herk. It's then Mark Codd in 3rd position ahead of Clayton McBuller. John Cook is taken John Cook taken 5th ahead of Nagel. Then we will see Rox, Poplet, Malone and Lloyd, followed by Lane and Neal. McIntyre, Ayala, Batchelor, Edgar, followed by Sims and Gould. And Hilton will round out the field. Sims and Hilton being the 2 disconnects we saw in heat race number 1 on the line. We saw a similar issue back in Monza, I believe it was. So it's not the first time we have seen disconnects like that, but we are getting ourselves ready here for feature race 1. 15 minutes on the clock. We are green and we are away. Drivers swing to the right-hand side of the circuit to try and defend their line up towards turn number 1. Vukovic has the inside on Van der Herk. Van der Herk's not going to be able to keep it. In fact, he runs deep and he has lost a significant amount of time. It's side by side from those behind though as well. As we head up towards turn number 3, it is a black flag for Bob Poplar. He will have to visit pit lane. As we exit the cut through, the iRacing cameras now know what they're doing again. And it looks like for the most part, drivers are trying to find any position they can get in this early part of this race. McBuller holds on to Codd. There's contact. Sideways for McBuller. He gets it back straight. Codd still up his inside though. And Mark Codd gets that position. How is it going to be under the brakes? As they have got, it looks like, about 3-4 deep side by side. Settle themselves down on the exit though. Not behind. Here comes Matt Neal as a slow driver. Slow down for Neal Rox through the final turn. Somehow that was about to turn 3 wide. Fortunately no cars collecting anyone else. It went back 2 wide with the slowdown. Bob Poplar dived down pit lane as well to serve his drive through. Joshua Lloyd and Matt Neal now are running together up towards turn number 1. Who is going to come out of this one ahead? The 2 teammates fighting along. Sorry, no, that is Batchelor behind, as Matt Neal's teammate is the 85 of Lloyd. As I got those a little bit muddled up, but it is the 2 D2 drivers fighting it out for second in class right now. As they come through the cut through, Matt Neal sits ahead of Joshua Lloyd and he takes second in class. Matt Malone ahead is 6th in class. Off the track goes Matt Neal. He gets back on though. But it is another switchback and another attempt here from Joshua Lloyd to move back into second place past Matt Neal. They run side by side. Bachelor behind this fight is going to look at pushing Matt Neal at the position. Neal and Lloyd go side by side. Somehow they all make it out of there. And here comes Ian Lane to the inside of the final turn. They are side by side. And they settle themselves down somehow. No contact as we run through that chicane there. But we head up towards turn number 1. And here comes Matt Neal to try and get past Matt Malone for 7th overall. He can't quite get it on the brakes. Oh, he's not going to get into him, which is very lucky. And he keeps it out of the way, but he is once again under attack here. Joshua Lloyd getting the speed on the exit, side by side behind with Lane and Bachelor. That's also for class position. They appear past the funky cameras, and it is once again Matt Neal ahead of Joshua Lloyd, and it is Bachelor ahead of Lane. Richard Edgar behind this fight. He's got two DRs. That's going to be Thomas Bachelor sideways. Somehow holds it. He loses position to Lane, and through goes Richard Edgar. And he is now going to have to try and recover those positions. Up ahead once again. Here comes Matt Neal trying to defend from Joshua Lloyd. That was a very much heavier braking from Lloyd there. Is he going for the exit? He certainly is. As Neal pushes it wide, Lloyd looks to the inside, but we saw in the earlier races that wider line, you can just carry more speed, but that's going to be Lloyd trying to push Neal wide. They're going to stay side by side on the exit of the final turn across the timing line. Who is going to come out on this one on top? They are neck and neck as they go up towards turn number 1. Fight up ahead as well. Onto the brakes. It is going to be Neal on the outside. Lloyd going for the switchback through the left hand and not having to get the curbing. And that's turned. Ian Lane turned by Thomas Bachelor. They've both straightened themselves up. But it is going to be Lloyd up the inside of Matt Neal. This is a fight for second in the D2 class. They're still side by side. As it's going to switch back over again, giving Matt Neal the inside line once more. Here is Richard Edgar and Zach Gould. They're both involved in this one now as well. This is a 4-car fight for second in class as Neil Rocks gets past Ian Lane behind. Richard Edgar moves to the right hand side. Is he going to try and get the inside of Joshua Lloyd? He's certainly got the inside line. Matt Neal is going to take advantage of this. Try and pull away. As we get onto the brakes now. That's a later move from Lloyd, trying to keep the position. He certainly has, but here there's more contact. And Lloyd is around. Contact with Richard Edgar. And Lloyd spins through the exit of the chicane. Let's have another look at that one. Onto the brakes. Here comes. Oh, it's just a small tap from Richard Edgar that just continued. Edgar continues forward. But it looks like there may have been more to it afterwards. It turns out it looks like something has happened to Joshua Lloyd. Just as it looks like he's crashed. Has there been anything more that has happened? It doesn't look like it. It looked like it was just because he was going as slow as he was. Out of the final turn, he does continue. Matt Neal down the order. Matt Neal down the order. Is he out of this race? It looks like Matt Neal has disconnected, which is a real shame. It looks like something has happened to him through the beginning. It looked like it may be a disconnect for Matt Neal. We saw him blinking earlier in the race. Heading up towards the cut through. Yep, it is a disconnect for Matt Neal, which is a real shame indeed. Not something you want to see, especially in these feature races, these longer races. This first feature race, most points on offer. John Cook gets up the inside of Nagel. No, this is Cod. Cod and McBuller fighting it out. This is for third. Cod got that position past McBuller. McBuller able to hold it on the outside. We know that outside line is just extremely quick. As we come up towards now the hairpin, McBuller crosses to the right-hand side to defend over Mark Codd. Heavy on the brakes into turn number 1. That is John Cook just behind as well. He is also a Formula driver with McBuller. So right now, Codd is in a Formula sandwich. Are the two teammates going to work together? I know that they often talk to each other whilst they're racing. These in Discord, the teammates. However, I believe in a series like this, it is each to their own. So I'm sure that we will see no team games being played. We will see pure racing. As we're coming up towards the final third of this race, Vukovic leads Van der Herk by a second. That start of the race was enough to give Vukovic just enough of the gap to keep Van der Herk at bay in this one. This is the fight for the podium though, and that is a mistake from McBuller. Through goes Mark Codd, easily out of the chicane, up towards the hairpin now. This is going all the way down to 7th overall. It includes D2 leader Jürgen Nagel. It goes down to Matt Malone. 5 cars separated here by about 1.3, 1.4 seconds. Matt Neal out of the race then with his disconnect. Peter McIntyre almost a lap down in this one. Different racing lines, and actually that was almost McBuller collected by Codd. Here comes Cook, almost collected by Cook, and here comes Cook. Up towards the hairpin. Cook on the outside line on McBuller. Who's going to get it here? It looks like McBuller's going to have it nice and easy there. Matt Malone looked like he tried to get towards the inside of Nagel. It's not going to play out. They remain in line, but different racing lines being played here because drivers are trying to figure out where can they make their moves, where can they make their way through the field. Of course, we are going to see an inverted grid in feature race 2, and at this rate, it looks like it's going to be a full grid feature race. If you're wondering why we have less drivers than normal, of course, it is the Bathurst 1000 special event today, so a number of drivers unable to attend today's race, but they will be back in 2 weeks' time when we go to Knock Hill on October the 11th. Up towards the final turn, Matt Malone has got to the inside of Jürgen Nagel, and he makes his way past the D2 leader. That's important for Malone because now he's got the D1 drivers ahead of him. So each position he now gains are going to be 4 points. That's what he needs. What he doesn't need is Nagel getting his way back through as Codd pulls to the right-hand side. Is that a slowdown from Codd? I believe it is. We saw something similar happening earlier on in the day, but that slowdown wasn't served. It turned into a black flag. Served by Codd this time. Malone has got some good speed on Cook. Looking to the outside, but we know you've got to brake early. But he is going to try and hold it around the outside. That was a slide, though. They get through. Malone has got it on the outside. He's going to be able to stick it there to the inside of Cook. Matt Malone moves up to 4th. Back down to 5th as the positions change. Across to the right, and Nagel looking to get back involved. Matt Malone on the outside line doesn't want to hit the gravel. He doesn't. Touching that gravel there is a killer for defending your position. But it is going to be the inside for Cook once more. Malone is still there though, and I think we're going to go side by side into the chicane. Who's going to have it as contact? Cook turns across in front of Malone, and through goes Codd. Nagel goes through. Malone gets past Cook. But I do believe that was Cook turning across on Malone. Cook has got a meatball flag. Let's see if we can figure out if that was a turn across here. Malone holding his line. Cook going to the left. An unfortunate racing incident in that manner. And unfortunately for Cook, he has had to visit pit lane because of it. Malone back behind Nagel now. McBuller up to 3rd past Codd. No, he was already there. He was already there. Never mind that. Codd back up to 4th, I should say. But now a big gap between Codd and McBuller. 3 seconds between them now. Most of our fights Oh, well, that was our big fight. Obviously now coming to a close with that contact. This is the other fight going on. It's for 6th in class. Rocks leading Lane, leading Bachelor. As we've got 2.5 minutes left, we're approaching the penultimate lap of the race. John Cook has fixed his car. Meatball flag gone. He is back out on track, ahead of Peter McIntyre. So McIntyre, driver, could really benefit here today from good results. Not getting those good results that he would be hoping for at the moment. Hopefully Feature Race 2, inverted grid, will go his way. This is Ian Lane. He's half a second behind Neil Rocks, half a second ahead of Thomas Bachelor. We're through the final turn as we go on to the 10th lap here of the anticipated 11. It's Vukovic out front by about 4 seconds. That gap has just increased substantially in this race. Feature Race 2 is going to be interesting with a reverse grid. Is Vukovic going to be able to find his way through the field? Of course, last week at Thruxton, Vukovic in that reverse grid taken out on the opening lap. He managed to recover really well though. It certainly did move his way back through the field, but he did go round on that opening lap. He's going to hope that that isn't the case here today, but he has. But it is going to be. It's surely going to be a full invert today. If not, there's going to be 1 or 2 drivers not in that invert, and that's going to be a real shame for them. So I think we're getting a full invert for Feature Race 2, but don't quote me on that just yet. We will see once we get onto the grid for that one. But we're coming up towards the final lap of the race. The white flag is out as Milan Vukovic crosses the line in his Renault Clio here. The man who is over 100 points clear in the championship. I think it's getting to the point where he has almost won the championship. I believe, I'm sure that Ian Lane, league moderator, will inform us at the point in which Vukovic can mathematically no longer be caught. With drop points involved in that as well, it's a bit more harder to calculate until... Well, that's a bit more harder to calculate, actually, whether he can be caught or not. Gordon Lloyd, swap position for 3rd in class. It looks like there's been some sort of issue for Lloyd on this lap. Ian Lane, Neil Rocks, they're fighting it out for 8th position in class. They got Thomas Bachelor just behind as well on this final lap of the race. Who is going to come out on top? This is the battle for 6th in class. It's side by side. Ian Lane up the inside of Neil Rocks. That's Bachelor just behind. Bachelor now trying to get to the inside of Rocks. Rocks pushes it wide. It's going to go 3 wide on the final lap of the race here. Through the kink. Ian Lane backs out, and somehow it is now a fight between Rocks and Bachelor up towards the chicane. Who's going to go for it? Lane goes for it up the inside of Bachelor. That confirms Rocks the position, but who is going to take 7th in class? Bachelor up the inside of Lane. We know the outside can work well, but it's not going to work well enough. Bachelor takes that position ahead of Lane around the final turn. And the race here, Feature Race 1, is over. We've got a 2nd feature race coming your way momentarily. But before that happens, let's have a look at the results here. From feature race number 1. Milan Vukovic wins this one ahead of Philip van der Herk. Clayton McBuller takes 3rd position and Mark Codd in 4th. Matt Malone takes the final top 5. Jürgen Nagel and Richard Edgar take 1st and 2nd in Division 2. Following them is Neil Rocks, Bachelor and Ian Lane. Zach Gould takes the final podium place in Division 2 ahead of Joshua Lloyd. Bob Poplet came home 13th overall ahead of Ayala and Cook. McIntyre finished 16th a lap down and Matt Neal out of the race. We have one more race coming your way in a couple of moments' time. But don't go anywhere, because it is going to be the inverted grid. So we will catch you in a moment's time as we are just waiting for Feature Race 2 to come your way. Welcome back here to the Renault Clio League at the Nurburgring. We are preparing for the final race of the day, Feature Race 2. And that is going to be an inverted grid. Let's see how many that's going to be, though. I believe with a minimum of 15, and there being 19 drivers who started this, I think there's only 17 left here by the end of this race. I think we're going to see the entire field involved in this inverted grid. But don't quote me on that until we get the invert just now. If it's a full invert, we will see Matt Neal on pole, which we do. I believe that means we have got a full invert. 20 minutes, of course, for this one. We have got a full invert for this race. Let's have a look at the grid then for the final race of the day. Matt Neal will be starting from the front ahead of Peter McIntyre. John Cook will take third ahead of Edward Ayala. Bob Poplet will start in fifth and Joshua Lloyd in sixth position. Seventh position will be Zach Gould ahead of Ian Lane. Thomas Batchelor will be in ninth ahead of Neil Rocks, followed by Edgar and Nagel. We'll then see Malone, Codd, McBuller, Vanderherk, Vukovic, Sims and Hilton. That is not a full reverse then. Top 17 reverse. Oh, Sims and Hilton not involved in that invert. I don't think they were involved in feature race 1. That's possibly why they aren't involved in the invert here. Right, 20 minutes for this one. It is the longest race of the day. It's an invert grid. A lot of bonus points on offer for our drivers. It is Matt Neal starting from the front. Peter McIntyre looking to add a good result as well up there. But then you got Vanderherk, Vukovic, 16th, 17th. Both of them going to try and do something with this one. I can't see Sims or Hilton out on track. So then neither of them involved in the invert because they weren't in feature race 1. I believe they're not going to be in feature race 2. Expected to be 14 laps of running in feature race 2 here. Waiting for the lights to come up for these drivers so that they can get themselves underway for the last race of the day. Peter McIntyre has not made his way to the grid. He should have started in second. It's a green flag and we are away off the line. Matt Neal, the only driver out front on the front row of the grid, with us missing a few of the drivers from the grid here in feature race 2. We are going to get down towards turn 1. It is 4 wide in the background. Somehow they're all still facing the same way, but cars being bullied left, right and centre in trying to make their overtakes towards the back. There's more contact. That is Van der Herk trying to make his way through the middle of a number of other drivers, and that is genuinely through the middle, trying to force his way through. Can't do anything at the moment. It's still going 3 wide in the background, and that is Nagel off the circuit with that one. Unfortunately for him, the one to come out worst off in all of those battlings. There's still overtakes going on up ahead. We can see Thomas Batchelor getting past Joshua Lloyd in the distance for overall position. Lloyd going back up the inside of Batchelor, though, will regain that position. Lane up the inside of Gould and Codder as well. Lane off. Cars absolute dispersing everywhere as we go up towards the final turn. Vukovic is up the inside. And that is going to be Edgar in the middle. As we come up towards the timing line once more, it is still 2 by 2 by 2 along the front straight here towards the back of the field, up towards the braking point. Who is going to come out on top of this? 3 cars going together there. Vukovic trying to get through. Contact with Cod. Is that Cod around? Or was that Van der Herk around? I think it was actually Van der Herk around. Cod looked like he's okay. It was Van der Herk who was sideways. He's now back the right way. As that's Gould going deep through the cut through. Somehow cars are faced all different directions, but everyone still running within this field. Cars trying to find their way through and get whatever they can from this one. The 3 cars out front, you can see Neal, Cook, Poplar, they've pulled away from the rest of the field. Is this battle at the back that continues. Lane and Rock side by side as we head up towards the chicane once more. Lane is up the inside of Rocks. He ran deep on the exit last lap, not this lap. He keeps it on exactly where he needs to. Cook and Poplar swap for the lead in the D1 field at the front. They're side by side across the timing line. Vukovic has already made his way up to 6th. Poplar up the inside of Cook. He qualified pole for heat race 2. He had a slow start and dropped all the way to the back. He's up the inside of John Cook. He holds on to 2nd overall. He wants to get past Matt Neal. Put a car between himself and the D1 driver behind. But is he going to be able to find that move? Up through the cut through. But iRacing does not know what it's doing. It certainly is close. Poplar could do it up to the chicane. As definitely as Matt Neal runs slightly off there. It's going to be a much smoother run. More speed from Poplar here. But he's onto the gravel. That's not going to help him out. That's going to pull back the speed he had gained for a nicer corner. But he's still closing in though. Is he going to go for the move? He's trying to move to the left. Neal wanted to stop him from going there, but he goes for it anyway. Bob Poplar up the inside of Matt Neal. There's contact. Poplar through. Poplar is leading the race. Matt Neal turned across, expecting to really still be able to take a tighter line. Couldn't quite do it. And he has to give up that position. Tried to look to the inside of Poplar through the final turn. Couldn't do it there either. Poplar leading the way. All cars have settled themselves down. But there are a lot of close fights down and up the field. Vukovic, the fastest man on track. He's made his way to 5th overall. He's back into the podium. Neal and Cook have swapped positions. There's issues up ahead. Cook slow. with no front bumper. What has happened here to Cook? Up towards turn 1. Obviously contact as we go through. That's Neil ahead. Cook gets in behind. Cook gets to the inside. Neil turns into him, squishing Cook up the inside. And that then was Joshua Lloyd getting involved. A bit like we saw on the previous lap. Matt Neal turned into Bob Poplar, almost not expecting him to be there when they were so clearly side by side. The same has happened with Cook. It makes me wonder if possibly Matt Neal is running without a spotter and just not knowing he's got cars to his side, but that is an accident that definitely could have been avoided. Up towards the final turn then, and Batchelor gets up the inside of Van der Herk for 4th in class. Van der Herk goes for the exit. Batchelor tried to go a tighter line, but Van der Herk was just there. They're now side by side across the line. 6 minutes down, 14 more to go. We head up towards turn number 1. Poplar leads ahead of Neil. Both of them leading their own divisions. Van der Herk goes deep into turn 1, but it works perfectly for him. The 26 behind tries to go for the exit. Can Batchelor regain this position on Van der Herk? Up towards the cut through. We'll see how it appears on the way out, because we can never see what's going on in the middle. Here we go. Van der Herk definitely has that position over Batchelor for now, but that could change as the race goes on, even as the lap goes on. Obviously, we've got the chicane coming up. Matt Malone there behind Joshua Lloyd. Joshua Lloyd 2nd in the D2 field. Matt Malone 6th in the D1 field. Even if he makes this move, it's no additional points, but he does get a position closer to that battle for the D1 positions ahead. They're side by side. Malone on the outside of Lloyd, and Lloyd backs out early to let Malone through. He knows it's not for class position. What is for class position of Richard Edgar, though, who he has just invited into a fight. Edgar gets a slowdown, though. Has to back out. John Cook out of the race. Black flag as well. Has towed back down to pit lane, so will not be competing any further. Here comes Van der Herk. Now up the inside of Mark Codd to look for 3rd, as Vukovic has made his way past Matt Neal as well. Vukovic and Van der Herk, both of them in 1st and 2nd in feature race 1. Can they move their way into 1st and 2nd in feature race 2? We're not even halfway through this race yet, so it is entirely possible we could see that. They were we saw them being the first drivers, I believe, earlier in the season to have got a podium in all of the races they took part in a weekend. They were the first 2 drivers to do that. I think they're going to do it again. Can they get a 1-2 this time? Thomas Batchelor gets up the inside of Mark Codd. That is for 4th in class. Batchelor still has that inside line. Codd on the outside line. Can he stick a wheel in up towards the chicane to try and force Batchelor into some sort of mistake? I mean, he has stuck more than a wheel in. He stuck his whole car in. That could be a slowdown there, very possibly for Batchelor, but he takes the position. Codd looks to the inside. Matt Malone trying to get involved in this one. I do not see Batchelor slowing down, so I think he managed to get through that without a slowdown, and Batchelor moves across to the right. Is that to serve it? Yes, it is. Thomas Batchelor serves the slowdown, and Matt Malone flies past Codd as well. That could be Codd getting caught out by whatever was going on in front, and that is Joshua Lloyd off the track at turn 1. He recovers. He's got Ian Lane and Richard Edgar just behind, but they have sorted themselves out as Matt Malone and Mark Codd fight. Matt Malone's got to the inside of Codd. This is now the fight for 4th in class. With what was with that mistake there from Thomas Batchelor. I wouldn't say mistake. He was trying to hold it on the outside, and there just wasn't enough room, and very easy to get a slow down through that chicane, and he served it. So we've seen a black flag already being served from these issues, but this is Van der Herk past Matt Neal for 3rd overall. It's not a class position, but it does mean that Van der Herk now 2 seconds behind Vukovic. Vukovic 2 seconds behind Poplar. Matt Neal pushing Van der Herk, not going back for the position. In fact, I was going to say, I didn't see him fighting for that position, to defend that position. He knows it's not for class results. That's what's important in this one, is class positions. Yes, of course, overall positions are impressive and they're great to brag about, but it's class positions that actually matter. That's where you get your points. Talking about class positions, this is the fight. Ian Lane, Thomas Batchelor. Lane in the very weird looking liveried car, and then in the stripy car beside him is Thomas Batchelor. They sit side by side. Batchelor is going to have the inside onto the cut through here. Just behind is a fight between Nagel and Edgar. That's for the final podium place in Division 2. This D1 fight is for 6th. So glad we can see both of these fights occurring right now. In fact, it's still side by side with Nagel and Edgar. Edgar makes that move to take it into 3rd position. Of course, Nagel was forced off of the track at the start of this race, so he has had an incredible recovery to move back up. Gravel ahead though from Thomas Batchelor. Ian Lane makes his way back through, back up into 8th position overall and 6th position in class. Nagel has to settle down for 4th in class right now, as that's real late braking by Edgar. Edgar touches Batchelor ahead. Is that going to have a detriment to his exit here? It doesn't look like it has affected his exit too much as we come through. We're over halfway through this race now. 8 minutes left on the clock. A sudden change there. Looks like a slight disconnect, or a blinking moment for Mark Codd. He does appear back in 5th in class, however, so I think it was just a blink for Codd. But here comes Jürgen Nagel to try and retake 3rd in class in Division 2. Can he get to the inside of Edgar? He backs out a little bit earlier. Is he going for the exit? Yes, he is. He switches back across, trying to get the speed on the exit as we head over to the cut across. Will it pay out anything at the moment? No, he has to sit behind, and they run single file. The gap between the two leaders down to 1 second now. So Poplar is leading the race with 7.5 minutes to go. Will he win the race, or will Vukovic come on through? It doesn't look like Van der Herk is going to be able to catch up and get involved in that fight as well. Matt Neal still only a few tenths behind him as well as we look at that one. And bear in mind, Matt Neal allowed Van der Herk through. Is he going to allow Matt Malone through? Now that's a question as well to think about. He moves wide, he's slow, he doesn't fight it. I don't know whether that certainly was a I'm going to let you through, Malone, or whether that was a I've made a mistake at the chicane, but you're not in my division, so I'm not going to worry about defending. Matt Malone, therefore, moves into 4th overall. Mark Codd now needs to get past Neal if he wants to get up to that 4th position. Look at this train of drivers behind. It is led by Joshua Lloyd. Joshua Lloyd, 2nd in class, 7th overall. Ian Lane behind. Then it's Batchelor. Edgar, as Lane looks to the inside. Doesn't play out anything at the moment. We've got Nagel involved in this as well. Rox and McBuller all involved. Mistake there from Batchelor. Here comes Richard Edgar. Edgar gets on through. Is Batchelor going to be able to hold the inside, or is Edgar going to keep it on the outside line? It looks like Edgar has got it, but they're certainly going to stay side by side through the turn. It's going to switch over to Edgar's run through the left-hander. He was slightly wide up, but he has got that position past Thomas Batchelor. It's an overall position, not a class position, so no additional points for that one, but it does mean that Edgar now has a car between himself and Nagel, as that was Batchelor trying to get back up the inside of Edgar. Didn't play out. It sort of opened the gap up ahead now. Mark Codd has also made his way past Matt Neal now, so Matt Neal still leading D2, but he knows he doesn't need to fight these D1 drivers. It's side by side behind. Neil Rocks looks up the inside of Thomas Batchelor. Can't do anything with it. In fact, it's going to give him a bad exit. And here comes Jürgen Nagel now. Up the inside, up towards the final turn. Nagel has got that position. Can he confirm it though? Because the outside line works well in these slower cars. Neil Rox has got some good speed on that outside line and is going to run side by side with Jürgen Nagel. He does reclaim it. Nagel tucks in behind. Of course, that is not for class position. It is only for overall position. Along with this fight as well, Ian Lane behind Joshua Lloyd. As that was a lot happening in a short space of time. Let's jump up to the lead though, because Milan Vukovic is 0.4 of a second behind Bob Poplet now. Poplet has led this race from basically the start and now has got Vukovic all over his rear. Can Vukovic make a nice clean move through? It's 4 seconds back to Van der Herk. Van der Herk could take second in this race. I think it's more likely he will stay in third. Poplet will be feeling the pressure right now. Championship leader behind you. Championship leader by well over 100 points is right in your rearview mirror. That is all you're going to be looking at right now. It is a scary, scary view to have. Vukovic up towards turn number 1 onto the third to last lap. Will he make the move to the inside? He looks for it. Here goes Milan Vukovic. Past Bob Poplet. He makes the move. Poplet's going for the exit though. Poplet does have the speed. He doesn't go for the move. He tucks in behind. Is he trying to pressure Vukovic possibly into a mistake? The only time I've seen Vukovic make a mistake on his own was at Monza, but here comes Poplet up the inside. It will give him the outside line on the next turn, but he does have a nice overlap and it will switch back in his favour. There's a battle for the lead between Poplet and Vukovic now. Onto the back straight. Poplet keeps it tight. He will have the inside line through the kink. There's a little bit of contact, more contact. As we head through the kink, Poplet giving Vukovic no room. But Vukovic will have the inside up to the chicane. They continue to give each other absolutely no room. Poplet backs out. He's going for the exit once more. He's got the speed. Vukovic goes defensive to the inside. He goes back to the outside. Poplet has a slowdown. Poplet has a slowdown and will have to relinquish the fight for the lead as he weaves to try and get rid of that slowdown as quickly as possible, because it will invite Van der Herk in now to try and get involved and get up to second position in this inverted grid. And it looks like Poplet is going to be once again under attack now. A slowdown through that chicane. Tried to go for the overtake through the chicane. It didn't pay out for him. Certainly backing out was the way to do it, but it was the exit that really meant something, and that corner cut just wasn't enough. Zach Gould out of the race, joining Cook unfortunately earlier on. It looks like Edward Ayala and McIntyre couldn't take advantage of the inverted grid. They've fallen down as well. Final podium place in D2. Currently going to Nagel, but Edgar is right behind. So that podium is still up for grabs in D2 as well as D1 here. Through the chicane. Poplet leading Van der Herk. We are going to be going on to the white flag. Now Van der Herk! Is that a slowdown for him or is another issue? It looks like it's a slowdown for Van der Herk. Bob Poplet is saved at the front of this field. As we go back to this train of drivers behind, being led by Ian Lane, being chased by Richard Edgar. 7 cars come across the line onto the white flag lap. A mix of D1 and D2 drivers. As we head up towards turn number 1, who's going to come out on top of this one? And that's a dive from Batchelor. Batchelor goes up the inside of Joshua Lloyd. It's for overall position, not class position. Almost contact. It's going to be the switch back. Lloyd doesn't get the exit. Bachelor does. Bachelor pushes to the wider line, trying to get to the inside on the next turn. He could do it on the brakes here. He's got just his bumper ahead, but he does get to the inside. They're side by side through the cut across, and it will be the position for Thomas Bachelor. He makes that move. Joshua Lloyd now has Neil Rocks behind, trying to get through this position. Can't do it. Switches across. They settle themselves down into a single line. But Milan Vukovic, yet again, in an inverted grid, goes from essentially the back of the field to the front of the field. Milan Vukovic wins feature race 2 here at the Nurburgring. This is the train of drivers. Is there going to be any change through the final chicane? They all go through single file, all wanting that additional place. None of them finding the speed to get it. They come across the line. And round 9 of the Renault Clio League comes to a close here as feature race 2 ends up towards turn 1 in dramatic fashion. And censoring as much as we can. My word. This is the graveyard of Clios at the end of the race. We don't often watch this on stream, but what a view, what a view. Okay then, let's have a look at the results after feature race 2. It is Milan Vukovic out on pole, who wins that one. I mean, he got pole position at the start of it in just absolute dominant fashion, even in the invert, went from the back of the field to the front. Bob Poplet did his best to try and hold on. He held on to the lead for most of that race, losing out towards the end. But in the fight with Van der Herk, after losing out to Vukovic with a slowdown, he was saved with a slowdown to Van der Herk. Matt Malone, taking full advantage of these inverted grids in recent weeks, he finishes 4th, and Mark Codd takes 5th. Matt Neal wins Division 2. There's Ian Lane and Thomas Batchelor behind in 7th and 8th overall. Joshua Lloyd taking 2nd in class. Neil Rocks rounding out the overall top 10. Clayton McBullough in 11th, and it was Jurgen Nagel who took home 3rd in class ahead of Richard Edgar, Edward Ayala, Peter McIntyre. Out of the race was Zach Gould and John Cook, and Sean Sims and Anthony Hilton did not begin that final race of the day. What a fantastic one it has been. These events, they are genuinely always so good to watch. Don't miss the next one. It's in 2 weeks' time. It will be at Knockhill for the first time. We're going to Knockhill back to back. 2 different layouts. One running the correct way, one running the inverted direction. And it is going to be an absolutely fantastic time. So make sure that you do not miss out on these races. Be sure to hit the follow button here so that you get notified when we go live and the streams are available to watch. Also go and check out the Beehive Bill Broadcasting YouTube channel so that you can see all of the extended highlights and race replays of all of the events so far. And to check out all information about the league, head over to beehivebillbroadcasting.com/Renault Clio. That will give you the up-to-date league standings, calendar, recent highlights, and a whole lot more. Let's go and check that out. Thank you so much for watching here and joining us. This is an absolutely fantastic event, and I can't wait to bring more of it. 3 more rounds to go. The championship still to play for in Division number 2. That is for certain. Division number 1's leader may be pulled away, but there are certainly fights behind inside the top 10. I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for joining me here today. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.